Yeah, nice.
You know, every Sunday ought to be like this.
You want the paper?
What's the difference? It's all bad news. What's today's calamity?
I don't know. I don't read the news section anymore. It's more interesting in the war, man.
Well, why not? You trying to buy something?
Well, I'm just interested. See what people want, you know? For instance, there's a guy here who's looking for 2 Newfoundland dogs. Now, what's he want for 2 Newfoundland dogs?
That is funny.
Well, here's another one. Wanted old dictionaries. High prices paid. What's a guy going to do with an old dictionary?
Why not? He's probably a book collector.
You mean he'll make a living out of that?
Sure, there's lots of them.
All the kind of business going on. In my day, either you were a doctor or a lawyer or you worked in a shop. Now,
But I was going to be a forester once.
well, that shows you. In my day, there was no such thing. Look at a page like this when you realize how ignorant you are.
Hey, what happened to your tree?
Oh, ain't that awful? Wind must have got it last night. You heard the wind, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a mess in my yard, too. What a pity. What'd Kate say, huh?
Oh, they're all asleep. I'm just waiting for her to see it.
You know, it's funny.
What?
Well, Larry was born in August, and he'd have been 27 this month. And his tree blows down.
Surprised you remember his birthday, Frank. That's nice.
Well, I'm working on his horoscope.
How can you make him a horoscope? That's for the future, ain't it?
What I'm trying to do is this, see. Now, Larry was reported missing on November 21st, right?
Yeah.
And we assume if he was killed, then it was on November 21st. Now, what Kate wants to find out is...
Oh, so Kate asked you to make a horoscope.
Yeah, she wants to find out whether November 25th was Larry's favorable day.
Well, what is that favorable day?
Now, a favorable day for a person is a lucky day according to his stars. In other words, it would be practically impossible for him to have died on his favorable day.
Was that his favorable day?
Well, that's what I'm working to find out. It takes time. See, the point is, if November 25th was his favorable day, then it's completely possible that he is alive somewhere, because it's possible. I didn't even see you there.
Is he talking sense?
Him, he's all right. He's just completely out of his mind, that's all.
See, the trouble with you is you don't believe in anything,
And the
Jim.
trouble with you is that you believe in anything. You haven't seen my kid this morning, have you?
No.
Imagine, he walked off with his thermometer right out of his bag.
What a problem. One look at a girl and he takes her temperature.
That boy's smart. He's going to be a real doctor.
Over my dead body, he'll be a doctor. A good beginning, too.
Why not? It's an honorable profession, Jim.
Frank, will you stop talking like a civics book?
Why, I saw a movie a couple of weeks ago. It reminded me of you. Where there was a doctor in that picture.
Hey, down to me.
Yeah, I think it was. See, he worked in this basement discovering things. That's what you ought to do. You could help humanity.
I'd
instead of
love to
sitting
help
there.
humanity on a Warner Brothers salary.
That's pretty good, Jim.
Well, where's the beautiful girl we're supposed to be here?
Oh, Annie came?
Sure, sleeping upstairs. Picked her up on the 1 o'clock train last night. Wonderful thing. Girl leaves here a scrawny kid. A couple of years go by and she's a regular woman. Hardly recognized her. You know, she was running in and out of this yard all her life. It was a very happy family who used to live in your house, Jim.
Like to meet her. The block could use a pretty girl. In the whole neighborhood, there's not a damn thing to look at. Except my wife.
Miss Adams is on the phone, you dog.
Such is the condition which prevails. My love, my life.
Don't sniff around me and give her a nasty answer. I can smell her perfume over the phone.
Well, what's the matter with her now?
I don't know, dear. It sounds like she's in terrible pain. Unless her mouth is full of candy.
Well, why don't you tell her to lay down?
She enjoys it more when you tell her to lay down. And when are you going to go see Mr. Hubbard?
My dear, Mr. Hubbard is not sick. And I have better things to do than to sit there and hold his hand.
Well, it seems to me that for $2 you could hold his hand.
If your son wants to play golf, tell him I'm ready. Or if he'd like to travel around the world for 30 years.
Why do you mean it, Jim? He's a doctor. Women are supposed to call him up.
All I said is Miss Adams is on the phone. Can I have some of your parsley?
Yeah, sure. You know, you were a nurse too long, Susie. You're too realistic.
Now you said it.
Frank, the toaster. Hiya.
Oh.
The toaster is off again.
We'll plug it in. I just fixed it.
Please, dear, fix it back the way it was before.
I don't know why you can't learn to turn on a simple thing like a toaster. Gosh.
I'm a citizen.
He's really very handy. Oh, did the wind get your tree?
Yeah, last night.
What is hitting? Is Annie in yet?
She'll be down soon. Wait till you meet her, Sue. She's a knockout.
I should have been a man. People are always introducing me to beautiful women. Tell her to come by later. I imagine she'd like to see what we did with the house. And thanks.
Is she still unhappy, Joe?
Annie? Well, I don't suppose she goes around dancing on her toes, but she seems to be over it.
Is she going to get married? Is there anything?
I suppose. Say it's 3 years now. A girl can't have one boy forever.
It's so strange. Amy 3 babies. I always thought it'd be the other way around.
Well, that's what a war does. I had 2 sons and now only got 1. Changed all the tallies. In my day, it was an honor if you had a son. But today, a doctor could make $1 million if he could figure out a way to bring a boy into this world without a trigger finger.
Yeah, it's just Hi, Chris.
Lydia, come in here. If you want the toaster to work, don't plug in the malted mixer.
Did I?
Come on, fix something. Don't tell me I'm crazy. Now get in here.
I'll never hear the end of this one.
So what's the difference? Instead of toast, have a malted, huh? You want to pay?
Well, that's all right, just the book section.
You're always reading the book section. You never buy a book.
I like keep abreast of my ignorance.
What is that? Every week a new book come out?
A lot of new books.
All different?
All different.
Is Annie up yet?
Mother's giving breakfast in the dining room.
See what happened to the tree?
Yeah.
What's Mother going to say about that?
You're finally up!
Oh, hey, Bert's here. Hey, Bert, where's Tommy? He's got his father's thermometer again.
Oh, he's taking the reading.
What?
Oh, but it's only one.
Well, there's no harm in oral. So what's new this morning, Bert?
Nothing.
Nothing. Then you couldn't have made a complete inspection of the block. Bert, when I first made you a policeman, used to come in here every morning with something new. Now nothing's ever new, Bert.
Except some kids from 30th Street. They started kicking a can down the block. But I made them go away because you were still sleeping.
Oh, now you're talking, Bert. Now you're on the ball. First thing you know, I'm liable to make you a detective.
Can I see the jail now?
See the jail on the ladder, Bert. You know that.
Oh, I bet you there isn't even a jail. I don't see any bars on the cellar window.
Bert, on my word of honor, there's a jail in that basement. I showed you my gun, didn't I?
But that's a hunting gun.
That's an arresting gun,
Then
Bert.
why don't you ever arrest anybody? Tommy said another dirty word to Doris yesterday, and you didn't even demote him.
That's a dangerous character, that Tommy. Well, tell me, what word does he say?
Oh, I can't say that.
Well, give me an idea.
I can't. It's not a nice word.
I'll tell you what, just whisper it in my ear. I'll close my eyes, maybe I won't even hear it.
I can't, Mr. Keller.
Now, don't make me do that.
All right, Bert, I take your word. Now go out and keep both eyes peeled.
For what?
For what? Bert, the whole neighborhood's dependent on you. Policemen don't ask questions. Now peel them eyes.
Okay.
And now mum's the word there, Bert.
About what?
Just in general. Be very careful.
Okay.
I got all the kids crazy.
One of these days, I'll all come in here and beat your brains out.
Now, what's Mother going to say about that? Maybe we ought to tell her something before she sees it.
She saw it.
Well, how could she see it? I was the first one up. She was still in bed.
She was out here when it broke.
When?
About 4 this morning. I heard it cracking and I woke up and looked out. She was standing right here when it cracked.
What was she doing out here at 4 in the morning?
I don't know. When it cracked, she ran back in the house, cried in the kitchen.
Did you talk to her?
No. Figured the best thing was to leave her alone.
She cried hard.
I could hear her right to the floor of my room.
But she's dreaming about him again, walking around at night.
I guess she is.
She's getting just like after he died. Now, what's the meaning of that?
I don't know the meaning of it. But I know one thing, Dad. We made a terrible mistake with Mother.
What?
Being dishonest with her. That kind of thing always pays off, and now it's paying off.
What do you mean dishonest?
You know Larry's not coming back, and I know it. Why do we let her go on thinking that we believe with her?
What do you want to do, argue with her?
I don't want to argue with her, but it's time she realized nobody believes Larry's coming back anymore. I mean, why should she dream of him? Walk the nights waiting for him? Do we contradict it? Do we say straight out that we have no hope anymore, that we haven't had any hope for years
Well,
now?
you can't say that to her.
We've got to say it to her.
Well, how can you prove it? Can you prove it?
For God's sake, 3 years? Nobody comes back after 3 years. It's insane.
To you it is, and to me, but not to her. Now, you can talk yourself blue in the face, but there's no body and there's no grave, so where are you?
Sit down, Dad. I want to talk to you.
You know the troubles of damn newspapers. Every month, some new kid turning up from nowhere. So
All right. Listen to me. You know why I asked Annie here, don't you?
Why?
You know.
Well, I got an idea, but what's the story?
I'm going to ask you to marry me.
Well, that's only your business, Chris.
You know it is only my business.
Well, what do you want me to do? You're old enough to know your own mind.
Then it's all right. I'll go ahead with
You
you.
want to be sure Mother isn't.
Then it isn't just my
I'm
business.
just saying.
Sometimes you infuriate me, you know that? Isn't it your business too if I tell this to Mother and she feels a bit about it? There's such a talent for ignoring things.
I ignore what I got to ignore. Now, the girl's Larry's girl.
She's not Larry's girl.
From Mother's point of view, he is not dead, and you've got no right to take his girl. Now, you can go on from there if you know where to go, but I don't know where to go, see? I don't know. Now, what can I do for you?
I don't know why it is, but every time I reach out for something I want, I have to pull back because other people will suffer. My whole bloody life, time after time after
You're a
time.
considerate fella, Chris. There's nothing wrong in that.
Off to hell with that.
Have you asked Annie yet?
I wanted to get this settled first.
How do you know she'll marry you? Maybe she feels the same way your mother does.
Well, if she does, then that's the end of it. From her letters, I think she's forgotten. I'll find out. fresh out with Mother, right?
Ah,
Dad, don't avoid me.
the trouble is you don't see enough women. You never did.
So what? I'm not asking one.
I just don't see why it's got to be Annie.
Because it is.
Oh, that's a good answer. Only it don't answer anything. You haven't seen her since the war, Chris. It's 5 years.
Can't help it. I know her best. I grew up next door to her. These years when I think of someone as my wife, I think of Annie. What do you want, a diagram?
I don't want a diagram. She thinks he's coming back, Chris. Now, you marry that girl and you're pronouncing him dead. What's that going to do to your mother? Do you know? Because I don't.
All right then, Dad.
Give it some more thought.
I've given it 3 years of thought. I'd hoped that if I waited, Mother would forget Larry and we'd have a regular wedding. Everything happened. But if that can't happen here, I'll get out.
What the hell is this?
I'll get out. I'll get married and live someplace else. Maybe in New York.
Are you crazy?
I've been a good son too long, a good sucker. I'm through with it.
Now, you have a business here, Chris. Now, what the hell is this?
The business? The business doesn't inspire me.
Must you be inspired?
Yes. I like it an hour a day. If I have to grub for money all day long, at least at evening, I want it beautiful. I want a family. I want some kids. I want to build something I can give myself to. Annie's in the middle of all that. Now where do I find
Hey,
it?
tell me something. You mean you leave the business?
Yes, on this I would.
Well, you don't want to think like that. I mean, well, what did I work for? That's all for you, Chris. The whole shooting match is for you.
You help me stay here?
All right. Just don't think that way, you hear me?
I am thinking that way.
I don't understand you, do I?
Like you don't, I'm a pretty tough guy.
I can see that.
Joe,
Hello, Mom.
did you take a bag from under the sink?
Yeah, put it in the pail.
Get it out of the pail. That's my potatoes.
I thought it was garbage.
Will you do me a favor, Joe? Don't be helpful.
I can afford another bag of potatoes.
Minnie scoured that pail in boiling water last night. It's cleaner than your teeth.
And I don't see why, after I worked for 40 years and got a maid, why I gotta be taking out the garbage.
If you would make up your mind that every bag in the kitchen isn't full of garbage, you wouldn't be throwing out my vegetables. Last time it was the onions.
I don't like garbage in the house.
Then don't eat.
That was you for today.
And I'm in last place again. I don't know, once upon a time, I used to think when I had money again, I'd get a maid, my wife would take it easy. Now I got money, and I got a maid, and my wife's working for the maid.
It's her day off. What are you crabbing about?
Isn't Annie finished eating?
She'll be right out. Wynn did some job on this place. So much for that, thank God.
Sit down, take it easy.
I've got such a funny pain in the top of my head.
Can I get you an aspirin?
No more roses. It's so funny. Everything seems to be coming back. This month is Larry's birthday. His tree blows down. Annie comes. It's like everything that happened is coming back. I was just down cellar. What do I stumble over? His baseball glove. I haven't seen that in a century.
Don't you think Annie looks well?
Fine. There's no question she's a beauty. I still don't know what brought her here. Not that I'm not glad to see her.
Well, I just thought we'd all like to see each other again. And I wanted to see her myself.
The only thing is, I think her nose got longer. But I'll always love that girl. She's one who didn't jump into bed with somebody else as soon as it happened with her fella.
Oh, what do you mean?
Never mind. Some of them didn't even wait until the telegrams were open. I'm just glad she came. You can see that I'm not completely out of my mind.
Just because she isn't married doesn't mean she's been mourning Larry.
Why then isn't she?
It could have been any number of things.
Like what?
Well, I don't know. Whatever it is. Can I get you an aspirin?
It's not like a headache.
The trouble is you don't sleep. She's wearing out more bedroom slippers than she is shoes.
I had a terrible night. I never had a night like that.
What was it, Mom? Did you dream?
More. More than a dream.
About Larry?
I was fast asleep. Remember the way he used to fly low past the house when he was in training? When we could see his face in the cockpit going by, that's the way I saw him. Only high up, way, way up where the clouds are. And he was so real I could reach out and touch him. Then suddenly he started to fall. And crying for me. Mom! Mom! I could hear him like he was in the room. Mom! It was his voice. If I could touch him, I knew I could stop him. If I could only. And then I woke up and It was so funny. The wind, it was like the roaring of his engine. I came out here. I must have still been half asleep. I could hear that roaring like he was going by. The tree snapped right in front of me, and I came awake. You see, we should never have planted that tree so soon. I said so in the first place. It was too soon to plant a tree for him.
Too soon?
We rushed into it. Everybody was in such a hurry to bury him. I said not to plant it, yet I told you
Mother, Mother, the wind blew it down. What significance has that got? What are you talking about? Mother, please don't go through it all again, will you? It does no good. It doesn't accomplish anything. I've been thinking, you know. Maybe we ought to put our minds to forgetting him.
That's the third time you've said that this week.
Because it isn't right. We never took up our lives again. We're like at a railroad station waiting for a train that never comes in.
Get me an aspirin, huh?
Sure. And let's break out of this, eh, Mom? I thought the four of us might go out for dinner a couple of nights, maybe dancing out at the shore.
Fine. We can do it tonight.
Swell with me.
Sure, let's have some fun. You'll start with this aspirin.
Why did he invite her here?
Why does that bother you?
She's been in New York for 3.5 years. Why all of a sudden?
Maybe he just wanted to see her.
Nobody comes 700 miles just to see.
Why shouldn't he want to see her? He lived next door to the girl all his life. Don't look at me like that. He didn't tell me any more than he told you.
He's not going to marry her.
I don't even know he's thinking of it.
Cut that about it.
Well, so what?
What's going on here, Joe?
Now listen, kid.
She's not his girl, Joe. She knows she's not.
You can't read her mind.
Why is she still single? New York is full of men. Why isn't she married? Probably 100 people told her she's foolish, but she's waiting.
How do you know why she's waiting?
She knows what I know, that's why. That girl is faithful as a rock. In my worst moments, I think of her waiting, and I know again I'm right.
Look, it's a nice day. What are we arguing for?
Nobody in this family does take her faith away, Joe. Not his father, not his brother.
What do you want me to do? What do you want?
I want you to act like he's coming back, both of you. Don't think I hadn't noticed because this person invited her. I won't stand for any nonsense.
Okay.
Because if he's not coming back, then I'll kill myself. Laugh. Laugh at me. But why did that happen the very night she came back? Laugh, but there are meanings in such things. She goes to sleep in his room and his memorial breaks into pieces. Don't look at it. Look.
Calm yourself.
Believe with me, Joe, I can't stand all alone.
Calm yourself.
Only last week a man turned up in Detroit missing longer than Larry. You read it yourself.
All right, just calm yourself.
You above all have got to believe Joe.
What does that mean, me above all?
Just don't stop believing.
Why me above all?
Mr. Keller! Say, Mr. Keller, Tommy just said it again.
Said what? Who?
The dirty word.
Oh, well.
George wanted to arrest him.
Stop that, Bert. Go home. There's no jail here.
Okay.
There's no jail here. I want you to stop that business.
He's right across the street.
Go home, Bert! I want you to stop that, Joe. That whole jail business.
Look at you shake.
I can't help it.
What the hell's the matter with you, Kate? What do I have to hide?
I didn't say you had anything to hide. I'm just telling you to stop it. Now stop it.
Hiya, Joe.
Take a breath of that air, kid. You never get air like that in New York.
Annie, where did you get that dress?
Oh, I couldn't resist. I'm taking it right off before I ruin it. How's that for 3 weeks salary?
It's gorgeous. Simply gorgeous.
No kidding. Now, isn't she the prettiest gal you ever saw?
Gained a little weight, didn't you, Joe?
Look how nice your legs turned out.
Say, the poplars sure got thick, didn't they?
Well, it's 3 years, Annie. We're getting old, kid.
How does Mother like New York?
Well, why did they take our hammock away?
Oh, no, it broke a couple years ago.
What broke? He had one of his light lunches and flopped it.
Oh, excuse me.
How do you do? She looks intelligent.
And this is Jim, Dr. Bayless.
Oh, sure, he writes a lot about you.
Don't believe it. He likes everybody. In the battalion, he was known as Mother McKellar.
I can believe it. You know, it's so strange seeing him come out of that yard. I guess I never really grew up. It almost seems that Mom and Pop are in there now, and, well, you and my brother doing algebra and Larry trying to copy my homework. Gosh, those dear dead days beyond recall.
Oh, well, I hope that doesn't mean you want me to move out.
Jim, come in here. Mr. Hubbard is on the phone.
I told you, I don't want...
Please, dear.
But if I may offer a piece of advice, when you marry, never, even in your mind, count your husband's money. At once,
I told her to take up the guitar. It would be a common interest for them. Well, he loves the guitar.
Say, let's eat at the shore tonight. Race some hell around here like we used to before Larry went.
You think of him? You see, she thinks of him.
Well, what do you mean, Kate?
Oh, nothing. Just that you remember him. He's in your thoughts.
Well, that's a funny thing to say. How could I help remembering him?
Did you hang up your things?
Yeah. But say you sure got into her clothes. I could hardly find room in the closet.
No, don't you remember? That's Larry's room.
You mean, they're Larry's?
Didn't you recognize them?
Well, it never occurred to me that you'd... I mean, the shoes are all shiny.
Yes, dear. Annie, for so long now I've been aching for a nice conversation with you. Tell me something.
What?
I don't know, something nice.
She means, do you go out much?
Oh, shut up.
And I am serious.
Why don't you both shut up?
I mean it, Eddie. You can't go to a restaurant with that woman anymore. In 5 minutes, there's 39 strange people sitting around the table telling their life story.
If I can't ask Annie a personal
Well,
question...
asking's all right, but don't beat her over the head. You're beating her.
Don't let them bulldoze you. Ask me anything you like. What do you want to know, Kate? Come on, let's gossip.
She's the only one who's got any sense. Your mother, she's not getting a divorce, huh?
No, she's calmed down about it now. I think when he gets out, they'll probably live together. In New York, of course.
Oh, well, that's fine, dear, because your father is still... I mean, he's a decent man after all is said and done.
I don't care. She can take him back if she likes.
And you go out much?
You mean, am I still waiting for him?
Well, no, I don't expect you to wait for him. I just...
But that's what you mean, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Well, I'm not gay.
You're not?
Isn't it ridiculous? I mean, you don't really imagine that he's still so...
I know, dear, but don't say it's ridiculous because the newspapers are full of it. I don't know about New York, but only last week there was a man missing longer than Larry, and he turned up from
You
Burma.
couldn't have wanted to come home very badly, Mom.
Don't be so smart.
You have a hell of a time in
So
Burma.
I've heard.
Mother, I bet you money you're the only woman in the country who, after 3 years, is still...
You're sure?
Yes, I am.
Well, if you're sure, then you're sure. They don't say it on the radio, but I'm sure that in the dark, at night, they're all still waiting for their sons.
Mother, you're absolutely the most stubborn woman I've
Don't
ever...
be so damn smart. Now stop it. There are just a few things you don't know, all of you. And I'll tell you one of them, Annie, deep in your heart, you've always been waiting for him.
No, Kate.
But deep in your heart, Annie.
She ought to know, shouldn't she?
Don't let them tell you what to think. Listen to your heart, only your heart.
Why does your heart tell you he's still alive?
Because he has to be.
But why, Kate?
Because certain things have to be, and certain things can never be. Like the sun has to rise. It has to be. That's why there's God. Otherwise, anything could happen. But there's God. So certain things can never happen. I would know, Annie. Just like I knew the day he went into that terrible battle. Did he write me? Was it in the papers? No. But that morning, I couldn't raise my head off the pillow. And ask Joe. Suddenly I knew. And he was nearly killed that day. You know I'm right.
No, Kate.
I'll have to have some tea.
Eddie! Eddie, how are you? Gee whiz!
You're missing your
He's
hair.
got responsibility.
Oh, gee whiz!
Well, Frank, you're the stars window when you come out.
Oh, you look more womanly. You've matured.
Hey, take it easy, Frank. You're a married man.
No.
You still have her dastardly?
Oh, why not? Maybe I too can get to be president, huh? How's your brother got his degree out here?
George has his own office
Oh,
now.
you don't say. And your father, how's he?
Fine. I'll be in to see Lydia.
So how about it? Does Dad expect a parole soon?
I really don't know.
I mean, because I feel that if an intelligent man like your father is put in prison, there ought to be a law that says either you execute him or you let him go after a year.
You want to come that ladder, Frank?
That's all right. Kate, I'll finish your horoscope tonight. Annie, you look wonderful.
Haven't they stopped talking about Dad?
Nobody talks about him anymore.
Gone and forgotten, kid.
Tell me, because I don't want to meet anybody on the block.
I don't want you to worry about it.
Well, did I remember the case? Joe, did they talk about you?
The only one that still talks about it is my wife.
That's because you keep on playing policeman with the kids. All their parents hear out of you is jail, jail, jail.
Actually, what happened was, when I got home from the penitentiary, the kids got real interested in me. I was like the expert on the jail situation. As time passed, they got confused, and I ended up a detective.
Except that they didn't get it confused. He hands out police badges from the post toasties box.
Well, gosh, it's wonderful to hear you laughing about it.
Why? What'd you expect?
The last thing I remember on this block was one word. Murderers. Remember that Kate, Mrs. Kagan, standing in front of our house and yelling that word? She's still around, I suppose.
They're all still around.
Don't listen to her. Every Saturday night, the whole gang's in this harbor playing poker. All the ones who yelled murder are taking my money now.
Oh, Joe, she's a sensitive girl. Don't fool her. They still remember about Dad. It's different with him. He was exonerated, but your father is still there. That's why I wasn't so enthusiastic about your coming. Honestly, I know how sensitive you are, and I told Chris.
Listen,
I said,
listen. Now, you do like I did, and you'll be all right. Now, the day I get home, I get out of the car, not in front of the house, on the corner. Should have been there, Annie. You too, Chris, you'd have seen something. Everybody knew I was getting out that day. The porches were loaded. Picture it now. None of them believed I was innocent. Story was, I pulled a fast one getting myself exonerated. So I walked down the street, very slow, and with a smile. The beast. The beast. I was the beast. The guy that sold crack cylinder heads to the Army Air Force. The guy that caused 21 P-40s to crash in Australia. Kid walking down the street that day, I was guilty as hell. Except I wasn't. And there was a court paper in my pocket to prove I wasn't. So I walked past those porches. Result? Well, 14 months later, I got one of the best shops in the state again, a respected man again, bigger than ever.
Joe McGuts.
That's the only way you lick on his guts. Well, the worst thing you did was to move away from here. You made it tough for your father when he gets out. That's why I say I'd like to see him move right back on this block.
how could they move back
It
here?
ain't gonna end until they move back. People play cards with him and smile with him and talk with him. You play cards with a man and you know he can't be a murderer. So the next time you ride him, I want you to tell him just what I said, you hear me?
Well, don't you hold anything against him?
I never believed in crucifying people, Annie.
But he was your partner. He dragged you through the mud.
Well, he ain't my sweetheart, but you gotta forgive, don't you?
Well, you eat a cake, don't you feel any
So the
trouble?
next time you ride him.
I don't ride him.
Well, every now and then.
No. I've never written to him. And neither has my brother. Say, do you feel this way too?
We murdered 21 pilots.
What the hell kind of talk is that?
That is not a thing to say about
Well, what
Dad.
else can you say? When they took him away, I followed him. Went to him every visiting day. I was crying all the time. Until the news came out about Larry. And then I realized, it's wrong to pity a man like that. Father or no father, there's only one way to look at him. He knowingly shipped out parts that would crash an airplane. And how do you know Larry wasn't one of them?
I was waiting for that. As long as you're here, Annie, I want to ask you never to say that again.
You surprised me. I thought you'd be mad at him.
What your father did had nothing to do with Larry, nothing.
But we can't know that.
As long as you're here,
But
Annie,
Kate-
put that out of your head.
Yes, you got
That's
to know.
enough. That's all. Now come inside and have some tea with me.
But one thing.
He's not dead, so there's no argument. Now come.
In a minute, now, Annie.
All right, Dad, that's enough.
No, she doesn't feel that way.
Change
Annie,
the whole subject, now cut it out.
you wanted to go on like this. Now, those cylinder heads went into P-40s only. Larry never flew a P-40, you know that.
So who flew those P-40s, pigs?
The man was a fool. We don't make a murderer out of him. You got no sense. Look what it does to him. Listen, you got to appreciate what was doing in that shop during the war. The both of you. It was a madhouse every half hour. The major calling for cylinder heads. They were whipping us with the telephones. Trucks were hauling them away hot damn near. You just gotta see it human. See it human. All of a sudden the badge comes out with a crack, and that happens. That's a business. A fine hairline cracking. So he's a little man, your father. Always afraid of loud voices. What do the majors say? Half a day's production shot. What'll I say? You know what I mean? Human. So he takes out his tools and well, he covers over the cracks. All right, that's wrong. That's bad. That's what a little man does. And if I could have gone in that day, I'd have told him, junk him, Steve. We can afford it. But Maloney was afraid. He believed they'd hold up 100%. Now, that's a mistake, but it ain't murder. You mustn't feel this way about him. It ain't right.
Joe, let's forget the whole
And
thing.
Eddie, the day the news came in about Larry, your father was in the cell next to mine. Dad. And he cried, Eddie. He cried half the night.
He should have cried all night.
I just don't understand. Why
Are you gonna stop it?
Well, don't yell at him. He just wants everybody happy.
That's my sentiments. Now, can you stand steak?
Champagne?
Now you're operating. I'll call Swanson's for a table. Big time tonight,
But
Eddie.
you can't scare me.
I like that girl. Wrap her up. You got nice legs, Eddie. I want to see everybody drunk tonight, eh? Look at him. He's blushing.
Drink your tea, Casanova. Wasn't he a great guy?
You're the only one I know who still loves his parents.
I know it went out of style, didn't it?
It's all right. It's a good thing. You know, it's lovely here. The air is sweet.
So you're not sorry you came?
Well, not sorry, no, but I'm not going to stay.
Why?
In the first place, your mother as much as told me to go.
What?
You saw that, and we've been kind of embarrassed since we got here.
Trouble is, I planned on kind of sneaking up on you over a period of a week or so, but they take it for granted that we're all set.
I knew they would. Your mother, anyway.
How did you know?
From her point of view, why else would I know?
Well, would you want to? I mean, I guess you know this is why I asked you to come.
And I guess this is why I came.
And I love you. I love you a great deal. I love you. I don't know what to say. I have no imagination. I'm embarrassing you. I didn't want to tell it to you here. I wanted some place we'd never been. A place we'd be brand new to each other. You feel it's wrong here, don't you? This yard, this chair. I mean, I want you to be ready for me. I don't want to win you away from anything.
Oh, Chris, I've been ready a long, long time.
It's gone forever, you're sure?
I almost got married 2 years ago.
Why didn't you?
You started to write to me?
You felt something that far back?
And every day since.
And why didn't you let me know?
Well, I was waiting for you, Chris. Till then, you never wrote, and when you did, what did you say? You sure can be ambiguous, you know?
What do you keep saying? God, I kissed you. Annie, I kissed Annie. How long have I been waiting to kiss you?
Why did you wait all these years? All I've done is sit and wonder if I was crazy for thinking of you.
Annie, we're gonna live now. I'm gonna make you so happy.
Well, not like that, you're not.
I kissed you.
You're like Larry's brother. Do it like you, Chris. What is it, Chris?
Let's drive someplace. I want to be alone with you.
No. What is it, your mother?
No, nothing like that.
What's wrong? Even in your letters, there was something ashamed.
Yes, I suppose I have been, but it's going from me.
You've got to tell me.
I don't know how to start.
It wouldn't work this way.
It's all mixed up in so many other things. You remember overseas I was in command of a company?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I lost them.
How many?
Just about all.
Oh, gee.
It takes a little time to toss that off. Because they weren't just men. For instance, one time it had been raining several days. This kid came to me, gave me his last pair of dry socks, put them in my pocket. I mean, it's only one little thing, but that's the kind of guys I had. They didn't die. They killed themselves for each other. I mean that exactly, a little more selfish than they've been here today. When I got an idea watching them go down, everything was being destroyed. See, it seemed to me that one new thing was made, a kind of responsibility. Man for man. You understand me? To show that, to bring that onto the earth again, like some kind of a monument, everyone would look standing there behind them. And it would make a difference to them. And then I came home. And it was incredible. There was no meaning in it here. The whole thing to them was a kind of a bus accident. I went over with Dad in that rat race again. I felt what you said, ashamed somehow, because nobody had changed at all. Seemed to make suckers out of a lot of guys. I felt wrong to be alive, to open the bank book, to drive the new car, to see the new refrigerator. I mean, you can take those things out of a war, but when you drive that car, you gotta know that it came out of the love a man didn't have for a man. And you gotta be a little better because of it. Otherwise, what you have is really loot. There's blood on it. I didn't want to take any of it. And I guess that included you.
And you still feel that way?
I want you now, Annie.
Because you mustn't feel that way anymore, because, well, you have a right to whatever you have. Everything, Chris, to me too. And the money, there's nothing wrong in your money. Your father put hundreds of planes in the air. You should be proud. A man should be paid for that.
Oh, Annie, I'm going to make a fortune for you.
What'll I do with a fortune?
Hello? Yeah, sure. Hey, Annie, your brother. Oh, what is this, Labor Day? Well, nobody told me it was Labor Day, but where's the hot dogs?
All right, you said it once.
Well, as long as I know it's Labor Day from here on, I'll just wear a bell around my neck.
He's so subtle.
George Bernard Shaw as an elephant.
George, say you kissed it right out of my head. Your brother George is on the phone.
My brother?
Yeah, George, long distance.
Well, what's the matter? Is anything wrong?
I don't know. He's talking to Kate right now. Hurry up, she'll cost him $5.
Well, I wonder if we ought to tell your mother yet. I mean, I'm not very good in an argument.
We'll tell her tonight after dinner. Now don't get tense. Just leave it to me.
What are you telling her?
Go ahead, Annie. We're getting married, Dad. Well, don't you say anything?
I'm glad, Chris. I'm just... Well, George is calling from Columbus. Annie didn't say he was going to see his father today, did she?
No, I don't think she knew anything about it.
Chris, you think you know her pretty good.
What kind of a question is that?
I'm just wondering. I mean, all these years, George don't go see his father, and suddenly he goes, and she comes here.
Well, what about it?
It's crazy, but it comes to mind. She don't hold nothing against me, does she?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just talking. It was last day in court. That man blamed it all on me. This is his daughter. I mean, she was sitting here to find out something.
Why? What is there to find out?
Why are you so excited, George? What happened there?
I mean, if they want to open up the case again for nuisance value to hurt us.
Dad, how
What
did you
did he
think
say to
that
you, for
about?
God's sake?
They couldn't be, Ann. You know what?
Dad, you amaze me.
All right, forget it, forget it. I want a clean start for you, Chris. I want a new sign over the plant, Christopher Keller Incorporated.
J.O. Keller's good
Now, don't
enough.
talk about it. You're going to build your house, Chris, stone with a driveway up from the road. I want you to spread out. I want you to use what I made for you with joy. Not shame, but with joy.
I will, Dad.
Then say it to me.
Why?
Sometimes I think you're ashamed of the money.
No, don't feel
Because
that.
it's good money, Chris. There's nothing wrong in that money.
Dad, you don't have to tell me this.
All right. I'll go to work on your mother for you. We'll get her so drunk tonight we'll all get married, eh? It's going to be a wedding like was never seen, with champagne and tuxedos.
Simply because when you get excited, you don't control yourself. All right, come then. Yes, they'll all be here. Nobody's running away from you. And try to get a hold of yourself, will you? All right. All right. Goodbye.
Nothing happened.
He's coming here?
On the 7 o'clock. He's in Columbus. I told him it'd be all right.
Sure, fine. Your father take sick?
No, George didn't say he was sick. I really don't know. It must be something stupid. You know my brother. Say, let's go for a drive or something.
Sure. Give me the keys, Dad.
Drive through the park. It's beautiful.
Come on, Ann. Be back right away, Dad.
See ya.
Well, take your time. Now, what does George want?
He's been in Columbus since this morning. It's Steve. He's got to see Annie right away, he says.
What for?
No, he's a lawyer now, Joe. George is a lawyer. All these years, he never even sent a postcard to Steve. Since he got back from the war, not a postcard.
So what?
So suddenly he takes an airplane from New York to see him? An airplane?
Well, so?
Why?
I don't read minds, do you?
What has Steve suddenly got to tell him that he takes an airplane to see him?
What do I care what Steve's got to tell
You
me?
sure, Joe?
Yes, I'm sure.
Be smart now, Joe. The boy is coming. Be smart.
Once and for all, did you hear what I said? I said I'm sure.
All right, Joe. Just be smart. Have to put on good pants to do that. Notice there's more light with that thing going?
Aren't you dressing?
It's suffocating upstairs. I made a grape drink for Georgie. He always liked grape. Come and have some. Lord Steve never gave up the idea that Dad made him do it. If they're going to open up that case again, I won't live through it.
George is just a damn fool, Mother. How can you take him seriously?
That family hates us. Maybe even Annie.
Oh, that's one.
You think because you like everybody, they like you.
All right, stop working yourself up. Just leave everything to me.
When George goes, tell her to go with him.
Don't worry about it.
Steve is her father, too.
Are you going to cut it out? Now, come.
You don't realize, Chris, how people can hate. They can hate so much they'll tear the world to pieces.
Look, she's dressed already. I just got to put on a shirt.
Are you feeling okay?
What's the difference, dear? There are some people, you know, the sicker they get, the longer they live.
scheming will just get her in a better mood.
Joe, are you gonna sleep all day?
Well, the only one who's relaxed is your father. He's fast asleep.
I'm relaxed.
Are you?
Look. Let me know when George gets here.
Johnny, come get your supper. Is my I'm terribly sorry. It's all right. I'm a little silly about the dark. It is getting dark. Are you looking for your husband?
As usual, he spends so much time here. They'll be charging him rent.
Nobody was dressed, so he drove over to the depot to pick up my brother.
Oh, your brother's in.
Yeah, they ought to be back any minute now. Will you have a cold drink?
I will. Thanks. My husband, too hot to drive me to the beach. Men are like little boys. For the neighbors, they'll always cut the grass.
People like to do things for the Kellers. It's been that way since I can remember.
It's amazing. I guess your brother's coming to give you away.
I don't know. I suppose.
Well, you must be all nerved up.
It's always a problem getting yourself married, isn't it?
Well, that depends on your set, of course. I don't see why you should have had a problem.
I've had
I
chances.
bet. It's romantic. It's very unusual to me, marrying your brother to your sweetheart.
I think it's mostly that whenever I need somebody to tell me the truth, I've always thought of Chris. When he tells you something, you know it's so. He relaxes me.
And he's got money. That's important, you know.
It wouldn't matter to me.
You'd be surprised. It makes all the difference. I married an intern on my salary. And that was bad because as soon as a woman supports a man, he owes her something. You can never owe somebody without resenting them. Well, that's true, you know.
Underneath, I think a doctor is very devoted.
Oh, certainly. But it's bad when a man always sees the bars in front of him. Jim thinks he's in jail all the time.
Oh.
That's why I've been intending to ask you a small favor, and it's something very important to me.
Certainly, if I can do it.
You can. When you take up housekeeping, try to find a place away from here.
Are you kidding?
I'm very serious. My husband isn't happy with Chris around.
How is that?
Jim's a successful doctor, but he's got an idea that he'd like to do medical research. Discover things, you see.
Well, isn't that good?
Research pays $25 a week, minus martyring the hair shirt. You got to give up your whole life to go into it.
How does Chris?
Chris makes people want to be better than it's possible to be. He does that.
And is that bad?
My husband has a family here. Every time he has a session with Chris, he feels as though he's compromising by not giving up everything for research. As though Chris or anybody else isn't compromising. It happens with Jim every couple of years. He meets a man and makes a statue out of him.
Maybe he's right. I don't mean that Chris is a statue.
Now, darling, you know he's not right.
I don't agree with you. Chris is
That's
very...
dear. Chris is working with his father, isn't he? He's taking money out of that business every week of the year.
What of it?
You asked me, brother.
I certainly do ask you. You hadn't cast aspersions like that. I'm surprised at you.
You're surprised at me.
Chris wouldn't take 5 cents out of the plane if there was anything wrong with it.
You know that.
I know it. I resent everything you've said.
You know what I resent, dear?
Please, I don't want to argue.
I resent living next door to the Holy family. It makes me look like a bum, you understand?
I can't do anything about that.
Who is he to ruin a man's life? Everybody knows Joe pulled a password to get out of jail.
That's not true.
Then why don't you go out and talk to people? Go on, talk to them. There's not one person on the block who doesn't know the truth.
That's a lie. People come here all the time for cards.
So what? They give him credit for being smart. I do too. I've got nothing against Joe, but if Chris wants people to take off the hair shirt, then let him take off his broadcloth. He's driving my husband crazy with that phony idealism of his, and I'm at the end of my rope. Hello, darling. How's mother?
I thought George came.
No, it was just us.
Susie, do me a favor, eh? See if you can go up and call Mother. She's all worked up.
Oh, she still doesn't know about me, too.
She senses it, I guess. You know my mother.
Oh, yeah. She's psychic.
Maybe there's something in medicine chest.
I'll give her one of everything. Don't worry about it. A couple of drinks, dance around a little. She'll love Anne. Because you're the female version of him. Don't be alarmed. I said version.
Interesting woman, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very interesting.
She's a great nurse, you know.
Are you still doing that?
Doing what?
As soon as you get to know somebody, you find a distinction for them. How do you know
matter, Anne?
That woman hates you. She despises you.
Hey, what's hit you?
Gee, Chris,
What happened here?
you never... Why didn't you tell me?
Tell you what?
She says they think Joe is guilty.
What difference does it make what they think?
I don't care what they think. I just don't understand why you took the trouble to deny it. You said it was all forgotten.
I didn't want you to feel there was anything wrong in you coming here, that's all. I know a lot of people think my father is guilty, and I assume there might be some question in your mind.
But I never once said I suspected him.
Nobody says it.
I know how much you love him, Chris, but he could never
Do
be
you
right.
think I'd forgive him if he'd done that thing?
I'm not here out of a blue sky, Chris. I turned my back on my father. If there's anything wrong here now, I need
I
to...
know that, Anne.
George is coming from Dad, and I don't think it's with a blessing.
He's welcome here. You have nothing to fear from George.
Tell me that. Just tell me that.
The man is innocent, Anne. Remember, he was falsely accused once and it put him through hell. How would you behave if you were faced with the same thing again? Annie, believe me, there's nothing wrong for you here. Believe me, kid.
All right, Chris. All right.
Every time I come out here, it looks like Playland.
I thought you were going to shave.
In a minute, I just woke up, I can't see nothing.
Well, you look shaved.
Oh, no, gotta be extra special tonight. Big night, Annie. So, how's it feel to be a married woman?
I don't know yet.
You slipping?
The Great Rouet.
Well, what is that? Rouet?
It's French.
Don't talk dirty.
You ever met a big Great Ramus?
Somebody's gotta make a living.
Well, that's children.
I don't know, everybody's getting so damn educated in this country, it's getting so there'll be nobody left to take out the garbage. Only dumb ones left for us bosses.
Oh, you're not so dumb, Joe.
Oh, I know. But you go into our plant, for instance. I got so many lieutenants and majors and colonels, I'm ashamed to ask somebody to sweep the floor. Gotta be careful or I'll insult somebody. No kidding. It's a tragedy. You stand on the street today and spit, and you're gonna hit a college man.
Oh, well, don't spit.
Well, I mean to say it's coming to a pass. Annie, I've been thinking, your brother George. Well, I've been thinking about your brother George. When he comes, I'd like you to broach something to him.
Brooch.
What's the matter with broach?
It's not English.
When I went to night school, it was broach.
Well, in day school, it's broke.
Don't surround me, will you? Seriously, you say he's not well. Well, I've been thinking. Now, why should George knock himself out in New York with all that cutthroat competition when I got so many friends here? I'm very friendly with some big lawyers in town, and I can set George up here.
That's awfully nice of you, Joe.
No, kid, it ain't nice of me. I'm thinking of Chris. Oh, this is what I mean. You get older and you want to feel that you've accomplished something. My only accomplishment is my son. I ain't brainy. That's all I accomplished. Now, a year, 18 months, your father will be a free man. Where do you think he's going to go to? His baby. You. He'll come old and mad into your house.
That can't matter anymore, Joe.
I just don't want that hate to come between us.
All I can tell you is that it could never happen.
You're in love now, Annie, but I'm older than you and I know. A daughter is a daughter, and a father is a father. And it could happen. I'd like you and George to go to your dad in prison and tell him, Dad, Joe wants to bring into the business when you get out.
You'd have him as partner?
No partner, a good job. I'd like him to know, Annie, while he's sitting there, I want him to know he's got a place waiting for him when he gets out. Oh, you got a place, it'd take his bitterness away. It sweetens you.
Joe, you owe him nothing.
I owe him a good kick in the teeth, but he's your father.
Then kick him in the teeth. I want him in the plant, so that's that, you understand? And besides, don't talk about him like that. People misunderstand.
I just don't understand why she's got to crucify the man.
Well, it's her father.
No,
She
no.
knows. Why? What is it to you?
A father is a father. I better shave. I didn't mean to yell at you, Annie.
Let's forget the whole thing, Joe.
Right? She's likable.
Shake, will you?
Right again.
I forgot all about it. I promised to fix Kate's hair for tonight. Has she come again?
Always a smile, eh, Libby?
Sure, why not?
Well, come on up and comb Katie's hair. She's got a big night, make her beautiful.
I will.
We'll say that could be a song. Oh, come on up and comb my Katie's hair. Oh, come on up, cause she's my lady fair. Well, how's that for when you're in night school, eh? Oh, come on up and comb my Katie's hair.
Hey, what's the matter? Where is he?
Where's your mother?
Upstairs
What
dressing.
happened to George?
I asked her to wait in the car. Listen to me now, can you take some advice? Don't bring him in here.
Why?
Kate is in bad shape. You can't explode this in front of her.
Explode what?
You know why he's here. Don't try to kid it away. There's blood in his eyes. Drive him somewhere and talk to him alone.
Don't be an old lady.
He's come to take her home. What does that mean? You know what that means. Fight it out with him someplace else.
I'll drive him somewhere.
No.
Will you stop being an idiot?
Nobody's afraid of him here. Cut that out. Hell of a way to do. What are you sitting out there for?
Doctor said your mother isn't well.
So what? She'd want to see you, wouldn't she? We've been waiting for the afternoon.
Did you bring another shirt? This one's filthy.
How about the beach, Jim?
It's too hot to drive.
How'd you get to the station, Zeppelin?
George, this is Mrs. Bayless. George. Mrs. Bayless.
How do you do?
We're the people who bought our house, aren't you?
That's right. Come and see what we did with it before you leave.
I liked it the way it was.
Peace, Frank.
See you later.
Thanks for driving. Come and have some grape juice. One made especially for you.
Good old Kate. Remembered my grape juice.
Boy, you drank enough of it in this house. How you been, George? Sit down.
It takes me a minute. It seems impossible.
What?
I'm back here.
Say, you got a little nervous, haven't you?
Yeah, toward the end of the day. What are you, a big executive now?
Kind of medium? How's the law?
I don't know. I was studying in the hospital and it seems sensible, but outside there doesn't seem to be much of a law. Judy's got thick, didn't they? What's that?
Oh, blew down last night. We had it there for Larry, you know.
Why? Afraid you'll forget him?
What kind of remark is that?
When did you start wearing a hat?
Today. From now on I decided to look like a lawyer anyway. Don't you recognize him?
Why? Where?
Your father's. He asked me to wear it.
How is he?
He got smaller.
Small.
Yeah. He's a little man. That's what happens to suckers, you know. It's good I went to him in time. Another year there'll be nothing left but his smell.
What's the matter, George? What's the trouble?
The trouble? The trouble is when you make suckers out of people once, you shouldn't try to do it twice.
What does that mean?
Anne, are you married yet?
George, will you sit down
Are
and
you
stop?
married yet?
No, I'm not married yet.
You're not going to marry him.
And why am I not going to marry him?
Because his father destroyed your family.
Now look, George.
Cut it short, Chris. Tell him to come home with me and let's not argue. You know what I've got
George,
to
you
say.
don't want to be the voice of God, do you?
I'm-
That's been your trouble your whole life, George. You dive into things. What kind of a statement is that to make? You're a big boy now.
I'm a big boy now.
Don't come bullying in here. If you've got something to say, be civilized about it.
Don't civilize me.
Are you going to talk like a grown man, aren't you?
Sit down, dear, and don't be angry. What's the matter? Now, what happened? You kissed me when I left, and
My
now...
life turned upside down since then. I couldn't go back to work when you left. I wanted to go to Dad and tell him we were going to be married. It seemed impossible not to tell him. I loved you so much. Daddy, we did a terrible thing. We can never be forgiven. Not even to send him a card at Christmas. I didn't see him once since I got home from the war. And you don't know what was done to that man. You don't know what happened.
Of course I know.
You can't know. You wouldn't be here. Dad came into work that day. The knife woman came to him and showed him the cylinder heads. And we're coming out of the process with defects. There's something wrong with the process. So Dad went directly to the phone and called here and asked Joe to come down right away. The morning passed. No sign of Joe. So Dad called again. By this time, he had over 100 defectives. The army was screaming for stuff, but Dad had nothing to ship. So Joe told him. On the phone, he told him to, well, cover up the cracks in any way he could and ship them out.
Are you through now?
I'm not through now! Dad was afraid. He wanted Joe there who was going to do it. But Joe can't come down. He's sick. Sick. He suddenly gets the flu. Suddenly. But he promised to take responsibility. Do you understand what I'm saying? On the phone, you can't have responsibility. In the court, you can always deny a phone call. That's exactly what he did. They knew he was a liar the first time, but in the appeal, they believed his rotten lie. And now Joe is a big shot, and your father is a patsy. Now, what are you going to do? Eat his food, sleep in his bed, answer me. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, George?
He's too smart for me. I can't prove a phone
Then how
call.
dare you come in here with that rot?
George, the court already told us that the
And Court did not know him, Annie. But you know him. You know in your heart Joe did.
Lower your voice or I will throw you out of here.
She knows. She
Get
knows.
him out of here, Anne. Get him out of here.
Dad told that whole thing in court, and
The
they...
Court did not know him.
Like you'll say anything, George. You know how quick he can lie.
I'll ask you something. And you look me in the eye when you answer me.
I'll look you in the eye.
You know your father.
I know him well.
And he's the kind of boss to let 121 cylinder heads be repaired and shipped out of his shop without him even knowing about
He's
it.
that kind of boss.
And that's the same Joe Keller who never even left his shop without first going around to make sure all the lights were out.
Same Joe Keller.
The same man who knows how many minutes a day his workers spend in the toilet.
The same man.
And my father, a frightened mouse who wouldn't buy a shirt without somebody along. He would dare do such a thing on his own.
On his own, and because he's a frightened mouse, this is another thing he'd do. Throw the blame on somebody else because he's not man enough to take it himself. He tried it in corporate, it didn't work. For a fool like you, it works.
Oh, Chris. You're a liar yourself.
Don't talk like that.
Tell me, George, what happened? The court record was good enough for you all these years. Why'd you believe it? Why'd you believe it all these years?
I believed it because you believed it. That's the truth, Chris. I believed everything because I thought you did. But today, I heard it from his mouth. From his mouth, it's altogether different than the record. Anyone that knows your father and knows my father will believe it from his mouth. Your father took everything we have. I can't beat that. But she's one item he's not going to grab. Get your things. Everything they have is covered with blood. You're not the kind of girl that can live with that. Get your things.
And you're not going to believe that, are you?
You know it's not true, don't you?
How can he tell you? It's his father. None of these things ever even crossed your mind.
Yes, they crossed my mind. Anything can cross your mind.
He knows, Annie, he
The
knows.
voice of God.
Why isn't your name on the business? Explain that to her.
What the hell does that got to do
And
with
why
it?
isn't his name on it?
Even when I don't own it?
Who are you kidding? Who gets it when he dies? Open your eyes. You know the both of them, the way they love each other. Isn't that the first thing they do? J.O. Keller and son? I'll settle it. Do you want to settle it, or are you afraid to?
What do you mean?
Let me go up and talk to your father. In 10 minutes you'll have the answer. Are you afraid of the answer?
I am not afraid of the answer. I know the answer, but my mother isn't well, and I do not want to fight here now.
Let me go to
We
him.
will not start a fight here now.
What more do you want?
Someone's coming.
You won't say anything now.
You'll go soon, I'll call a cab.
You're coming with me.
And don't mention marriage because we haven't told her yet.
You're coming
George,
with me.
don't.
Georgie, Georgie!
Hello, Kate.
Oh, they make an old man out of you. Look, you're great.
I know.
I told you when you went away, don't try for medals.
I didn't try, Kate. They made it very easy for me.
Go on, you're all alike. Look at him. Why did you say he was funny? He looks like a ghost.
I feel all right.
I'm sick to look at you. What's the matter with your mother? Why don't she feed
He
you?
just hasn't any appetite.
In my house, he'd have an appetite. I pity your husband. Sit down, I'll make you a sandwich.
I'm really not hungry.
Honest to God, it breaks my heart to see what happened to all the children. How we worked and planned for you, and you end up no better than us.
You haven't changed at all. You know that, Kate?
None of us changed, Georgie. We all love you. Joe was just talking about the day you were born, and the water got shut off. People were carrying basins from a block away. A stranger went off. The whole neighborhood was on fire. Why didn't you give him some juice?
I offered it to him.
You offered it to him. Give it to him. And now you're going to sit here and drink some juice and look like something.
Kate, I feel hungry already.
She can turn Mahatma into a heavyweight.
Listen, to hell with the restaurant. I got a ham in the icebox and frozen strawberries and
Well, I'll
avocados.
help you.
The train leaves at 8:30, Anne.
You're leaving?
No, Mother, she's not.
You hardly got here. Give yourself a chance to get acquainted again.
Sure, you don't even know us anymore.
What, Chris, if they can't stay, don't
No,
try
it's just a question of George, Mother. He planned
Now,
on...
wait a minute, Chris.
If you want to go, I'll drive you to the station now, but if you're staying, no arguments while you're here.
Why should he argue? Georgie and us have no argument. How could we argue, Georgie? We all got hit by the same lightning. How can you... Did you see what happened to Larry's tree? Imagine, while I was dreaming of him in the middle of the night, the wind came along and just blew Georgie.
Oh, hello, Lappy. What do you do, bro?
I'm a big girl now.
Look what she can do to a hat.
Did you make that?
In 10 minutes.
I only rearranged it.
Still make her own clothes.
Oh, ain't she classy? All she needs now is a Russian
I
wolfhound.
feel like somebody's sitting on my head.
I know, Kate, it's beautiful.
She's a genius. Oh, you should have married her. This girl can feed you.
Stop that, Kate.
Didn't I hear you had a baby?
You don't hear so good. She's got 3 babies.
No kidding. 3?
Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3. You've been gone a long time, George.
I'm beginning to realize.
Trouble with you kids is you think too much.
We think too.
But not all the time.
I never took Frank, eh?
No, he was always 1 year ahead of me.
It's amazing. When they were calling boys 27, Frank was just 28. And when they made it 28, he was just 29. That's why he took up astrology. It's all in when you were born. Just goes to show.
What does it go to show?
Don't be so intelligent. Some superstitions are very nice. Did he finish Larry's horoscope?
I'll ask him now. I'm going in. Would you like to come see my babies? Come on.
I don't think so, Lydia.
All right, George. Good luck to you.
Well, thanks, and to you. And Frank.
Frank.
She got pretty, huh?
Very pretty.
She's beautiful, you damn fool.
Makes it seem so nice around here.
Look what happened to you because you wouldn't listen to me. I told you to marry that girl and stay out of the war.
She used to laugh too much.
And you didn't laugh enough. While you were getting mad about fascism, Frank was getting into her bed.
You won the war, Frank.
All the battles.
I told you the day they started the draft you loved that girl.
And true love hath no man.
I'm smarter than any of you.
She's wonderful.
And now you're going to listen to me, George. You had big principles. Eagle Scouts, the 3 of you. Now I got a dream. And this one, when the weather gets bad, he can't stand on his feet. And that big dope next door who never reads anything but Andy Gump has 3 children and his house paid off. Stop being a philosopher and look after yourself. Like Joe was just saying, you move back here, he'll help you get set up, and I'll find a girl and put a smile on your face.
Joe? Joe wants me here?
He asked me to tell you, and I think it's a good idea.
Certainly. Why must you make believe you hate us, Georgie? Is that another principle that you have to hate us? You don't hate us, Georgie. I know you. You can't fool me. I'd die for you. You remember Mr. Marcy's daughter?
She's got you hooked already.
You look her over, George. She's the most beautiful girl.
She's got warts, George.
She hasn't got warts. So the girl has a little beauty mark on her chin.
And 2 on her nose.
You remember her father's a retired police inspector.
Sergeant George.
He's a very kind man.
He looks like a gorilla.
He never shot anybody.
Well, look who's here, Georgie. Good to see you.
How are you, Joe?
So, getting old. So, you coming out to dinner with us?
No, I'll be back in New York.
I'll call a cab for you.
It's too bad you can't stay, George. Sit down. Well, it looks fine.
He looks terrible.
That's what I said. You look terrible, George. I wear the pants that she beats me with the belt, man.
I saw your factory on the way back from the station. It looks like General Motors.
I wish it was General Motors, but it ain't. Sit down, George. Sit down. So, finally went to see your father out here.
Yes, this morning. So what do you make now, Joe?
A little bit of everything. Pressure cookers, got an assembly for washing machines. I got a nice flexible plant now. So how'd you find your father? Feel all right?
No, he's not well, Joe.
It's not his heart again, is it?
It's everything, Joe. It's his soul.
Uh-huh.
How about seeing what they did with your house?
Leave it be.
I'd like to talk to him.
Sure, he just got here. Well, that's all they do, George. A little man makes a mistake, they hang him by the thumbs. They was become the ambassadors. I wish you'd told me you were going to see your father.
I didn't know you were interested.
In a way, I am. I'd like him to know, George. As far as I'm concerned, anytime he wants, he's got a place with me here. I'd like him to know that.
He hates your guts, Joe. Don't you know that?
I imagined it, but that can change too.
Steve was never like that.
It's like that now. He'd like to take every man who made money off the war and put him up against a wall.
Need a lot of bullets.
And he better not get any.
Well, it's a sad thing to hear.
Why? What do you expect him to think of you?
I'm sad to see he hasn't changed. As long as I know him, 25 years, the man never learned how to take the blame. You know that, George?
Well,
but you do know it. Because the way you come in here, you don't act like you remember it. I mean, like back in 37, when we had that shop on Flood Street, he damn near blew us all up with that heater he left burning. For 2 days without water. Wouldn't admit that was his fault either. I had to fire a mechanic just to save his face. You remember that?
Yes, but
I'm
that
just mentioning it, George, because it's just another one of a lot of things. Like the time he gave that money to Frank to invest in oil stock.
I know that.
Well, it's good to remember those things, kid. The way he cursed Frank when the stock went down, was that Frank's fault? Listen to him, the man was a swimmer. And all he did was give him a bad tip.
I know those things.
Oh, remember, there's certain men in this world who'd rather see everybody else hung before they'll take the blame. You understand me, George?
The cat's on its way. Would you like to watch?
Why must he go? Make the midnight, George.
Sure, you'll have dinner with us.
How about it? Why not? We're eating at the lake and we can have a swell time.
All right.
Now you're talking.
I've got a shirt that'll go right with that suit.
Size 15 and a half, right, Joey?
Is Frank and Lydia coming?
I'll get you a date that'll make
Oh,
her
no, I
look
don't
like-
want it.
I know somebody just for you. Charlotte Tanner.
Come on, Charlotte, that's right.
Call her up.
You go up and pick up Shirley High.
I never felt at home anywhere but here. You look so... Hey, you look so young, you know? You didn't change at all. It rings an old bell. You too, Joe. You're basically the same. The whole atmosphere is...
Say I ain't got time to get sick.
He hasn't been laid up in 15 years.
So I flew during the war.
Huh?
I flew when I was sick during the war.
Well, sure, I meant except for that flu. Well, it slipped my mind. Don't look at me that way. He wanted to come to the shop, but he couldn't even lift himself off the bed. I thought he had pneumonia.
Why did you say this?
Listen, kid, I know how you feel. I'll never forgive myself. If I could have gone in that day, I never allowed Dad to touch those heads.
You said you've never been sick.
I said he was sick, Joe.
And didn't you hear her say that he's never
Do you
been sick?
remember every time you were sick?
I remember pneumonia. Especially if I got in the day my partner was going to patch up cylinder heads. What happened that day, Joe?
Kate! Kate! Kate!
Frank, did you see George?
Oh, Lydia told me. I'm glad to. You'll have to pardon me. I've got something amazing for you, Kate. I finished Larry's horoscope.
Oh, you'd be interested in this, George. It's wonderful the way he
George, the girl's on the phone.
He finished Larry's horoscope.
Frank, can't you pick a better time than this?
The greatest men who ever lived believed in the stars.
Stop filling your head with that junk.
Is it junk to feel that there is greater power than ourselves? I've studied the stars in this life. I won't argue with you. I'm telling you, somewhere in this world, your brother is alive.
Why isn't it possible?
Because it's
It's just a
insane.
minute now. I'll tell you something, and you can do as you please. Just let me say it first. Now, he was supposed to have died on November 25th, right? But November 25th was his favorable day.
Mother.
Like the kind of day when everything good was shining on him. The kind of day you should have married on. You can laugh at a lot of it. I can understand you laughing. But the odds are 1,000,000 to 1 that a man won't die on his favorable day. That's no, Chris.
Why isn't it possible? Why isn't it possible, Chris?
Don't you understand what she's saying? She just told you to go. What are you waiting for now?
Nobody can tell her to go.
Thank you for your trouble, darling. Frank, would you tell him to wait?
Sure thing.
They'll be right out, driver.
She's not leaving, Mother.
You heard her say it. He's never been sick.
He misunderstood me, Chris.
He simply told your father to kill pilots and covered himself in bed.
You better answer him, Annie. Answer him.
I packed your bag, darling.
What?
I packed your bag. All you've got to do is close it.
I'm not closing anything. He asked me here, and I'm not leaving until he tells me to go. Till Chris tells me to
That's
go.
all. Now get out of here,
That's
George.
how he-
That's all. Nothing more till Christ comes about the case or Larry as long as I'm here. Now get out of here, George.
You tell me. I want to hear you tell me.
Go, George. George, you don't take it that way. Please don't take it that way.
What do you mean you packed her bag? How dare you pack her
Chris,
bag? How dare you pack her
She
bag?
doesn't belong.
Then I don't belong here.
She's Larry's girl.
And I'm his brother, and he's dead, and I'm marrying his girl.
Never, never in this world.
You out of your mind?
You have nothing to say.
I got plenty to say. For 3 years now, you've been talking like a maniac. And
Nothing! You have nothing to say. Now I say he's coming back and everybody has got to wait.
Mother,
Wait.
how long? How
Wait
long?
Till he comes. Forever and ever, till he comes.
Mother, I'm going ahead with it.
Chris, I have never said no to you in my life. Now I say no.
You'll never let him go until I do it.
I'll never let him go, and you'll never let him go.
I've let him go. I let him go a long
Then
time
let
ago.
your father go.
she's out of her mind.
Altogether. Your brother is alive, darling, because if he's dead, your father killed him. Do you understand me now? As long as you live, that boy is alive. God does not let a son be killed by his father. Now you see, don't you? Now you see?
She's out of her mind.
Then you did it.
Larry never flew a P-40.
But the others.
She is out of her mind.
Dad, you did it.
Larry never flew a P-40. What's the matter with you?
Then you did it to the others?
What's the matter with you? What the hell's the matter with you?
How could you do that?
Larry never flew a P-40. What's the matter with you?
Dad, you killed 21 men.
What killed?
You killed them. You murdered
How could
them.
I kill anybody?
Dad. Dad.
I didn't kill anybody.
Then explain it to me. What did you do? Explain it to me or I'll tear you to pieces. I want to know what you did. Now, what did you do? You had 120 cracked engine heads. Now, what did you do?
If you're gonna hang me, then
I'm listening. God almighty. I missed it.
You're a boy. What could I do? I'm in a business. A man's in business. 120 crack, you're out of business. You got a process. The process don't work. You're out of business. I mean, this stuff's no good. I mean, they're tearing up your contracts. What could I do? Nearly 40 years into a business and they knock you out in 5 minutes. And what could I do? Let them take 40 years? Let them take my life away? I never thought they could stop them. I swear to God, I thought they could stop them before anybody took off.
Then why'd you ship them out?
By the time I could have the process going again, I could show them that they needed me and that they let it go by. But weeks passed and I got no kickback, so I was going to tell them.
Then why didn't you tell them?
It was too late. It was all over the front page of newspapers. 21 went down. It was too late. I came with handcuffs into the shop. I mean, what could I do, Chris? Chris, I did it for you. I mean, I'm 61 years old. When would I have another chance to make something for you? 61 years old, you don't get another chance, do you?
You even knew they wouldn't hold up in the
I
air.
didn't say
But
that.
you were going to warn them.
Well,
not
it
to
don't
do
mean-
It means you knew
it
they
doesn't
crashed.
mean-
Then you thought they
I
crashed.
was afraid, maybe.
You were afraid? Maybe! God in heaven, what kind of a man are you? Kids were hanging in the air by those heads. You knew that.
For you. A business for you.
For me, I was dying every day, and you were killing my boys, and you did it for me. What the hell do you think I was thinking of, the damn business? What is that, the world, the business? What the hell do you mean you did it for me? Don't you have a country? Don't you live in the world? What the hell are you? You're not even an animal. No animal kills his own. What are you? What must I do to you? I had to tear the tongue out of your mouth. What must I do? Jesus. What must I do?
Chris. My Chris.
Any news?
No news.
Well, you can't just sit up all night here. Why don't you go to bed?
I'm waiting for Chris. Don't worry about me, Jim. I'm perfectly all right.
But it's almost 2 o'clock.
I can't sleep. You had an emergency?
Somebody had a headache and thought they were dying. Half of my patients are quite mad. Nobody realizes how many people are walking around loose, and they're cracked as coconuts. Money. Money, 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 money. You say it long enough and it doesn't mean anything. How I'd love to be around when that happens.
You're so childish, Jim. Sometimes you are.
Katie, what happened?
I told you. He had an argument with Joe and then he got in the car and drove away.
What kind of an argument?
An argument. Joe, he was crying like a child before.
They argued about Anne?
No, not Anne. Imagine. She hasn't come out of that room since he left. All night in that room.
Well, what did Joe do? Tell him?
Tell him what?
Don't be afraid, Kate. I know. I've always known.
How?
It occurred to me a long time ago.
I always had the feeling that in the back of his head, Chris almost knew. I didn't think it would be such a shock.
Chris would never know how to live with a thing like that. It takes a certain talent for lying. I have it, and you do, but not Chris.
What do you mean he's not coming back?
Oh, no. He'll come back, Kate. We all come back. The private revolutions always die, and the compromises are always made. In a peculiar way, Frank was right. Every man does have a star. The star of one's honesty. And we spend our entire lives groping for it. But once it's out, it never lights again. I don't think he went very far. He probably just wanted to be alone to watch his star go out.
Just as long as he comes back.
I wish he would, Kate. One year I simply took off. Went to New Orleans. For 2 months I lived on bananas and milk and studied a certain disease. It was beautiful. And then she came. And she cried. And I went back home with her. Now I live in the usual darkness. I can't find myself. It's even hard sometimes to remember the kind of man that I wanted to be. I'm a good husband. And Chris is a good son. He'll come back. I think he's in the park. I'll look around for her. Put her to bed, Joe. This is no good for what she's got.
What does he want here?
His friend isn't at home.
I don't like him mixing in so much.
Too late, Joe, he knows.
How does he know?
He guessed a long time ago.
I don't like that.
What you don't.
Yeah. What I don't like.
You can't bully yourself through this one, Joe. You better be smart now. This thing is not over yet.
What is she doing up there? She don't come out of that room.
I don't know. What is she doing? Sit down. Stop being mad. You want to live, you better plan your life.
She don't know, does she?
She saw Chris storm out of here. It's 1 and 1. She knows how to add.
Maybe I ought to talk to her.
Ask me.
Then who do I ask? I don't think she'll do anything about it.
I'm asking you again.
I'm asking you. What am I, a stranger? I thought I had a family here. Now what happened to my family?
You've got a family. I'm simply telling you that I have no strength to think anymore.
You have no strength. The minute there's trouble, you have no strength.
Joe, you're doing the same thing again. All your life, whenever there's trouble, you yell at me and you think that settles it.
Tell me. Talk to me. What do I do?
Joe, I've been thinking this way. If he comes back,
I mean, if he's coming back.
I think if you sit him down and you explain yourself, I mean, you ought to make it clear to him that you know you did a terrible thing. I mean, if he saw that you realized what you did, you see?
What eyes does that cut?
I mean, if you told him you want to pay for what you did,
How can I pay?
tell him you're willing to go to prison.
I'm willing to go to prison.
You wouldn't go. He wouldn't ask you to go, but if he knew that you wanted to, if he could feel that you were willing to pay, maybe he would forgive
You would
you.
forgive me for what?
Joe, you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. You wanted money, so I made money. Now what must I be forgiven? You wanted money, didn't you?
I didn't want it like that.
I didn't want it that way either. What the hell difference does it make what you want? I spoiled the both of you. I should have put him out when he was 10 like I was put out and make him earn his keep. That way he'd know how a buck is made in this world. Forgive him? I can live on a quarter a day myself, but I got a family, so I can...
Joe, don't excuse that you did it for the family.
It's got to excuse.
There is something bigger than the family to him.
Nothing's bigger.
Well, there is to him.
There's nothing he could do I wouldn't forgive because he's my son. Because I'm his father and he's my son.
Joe, I'm telling you.
Nothing's bigger than that. You're going to tell him, you understand? There's nothing he can do I wouldn't forgive because I'm his father and he's my son. If there is something bigger than that, I'll put a bullet in my head.
You stop
You
that.
heard me. Now you know what to tell him. He would put me away, no. He would do that. Would he?
He loved you, Joe. You broke his heart.
Would have put me away.
I don't know. I'm beginning to think we don't really know him. They say in the war he was such a killer. Here he was afraid of mice. I don't know him. I don't know what he'll do.
Damn, if Larry was lying to a man like this. He understood the way the world was made. He listened to me. To him, the world had a 40-foot front and it ended at the building line of this one. Everything bothers him. You make a deal, you overcharge 2 cents and his hair falls out. He don't understand money. It's too easy. It all came too easy. Yes, sir. Larry. That was the war we lost. Larry. What am I going to do, Kate?
Oh, Joe, you'll be all right. Nothing's going to happen.
For you, Kate. For both of you. That's all I've ever lived
I
for.
know, don't leave me, Joe.
Why do you stay up? I'll tell you when he comes.
Oh, you didn't have any supper. Or what? Why don't you make it something?
Sure, I'll go in.
Never mind, Kate. I'm all right. There's something I want to tell you. I'm not going to do anything bad.
She's a good girl, you see.
I'll do nothing about Joe, but you are going to do something for me. You made Chris feel guilty with me. Whether you wanted to or not, you've crippled him in front of me. I'd like you to tell him that Larry is dead and that you know it. You understand me? I'm not going out of here alone. There's no life for me that way. I want you to set him free. And then I promise you, everything will end and will go away and that's all.
Don't do that. Don't tell him.
I know what I'm asking, Kate. You've had 2 sons, but you've only got 1 now.
Don't tell him.
And you've got to say it so he knows you mean it.
My dear, if the boy were dead, you wouldn't need my words to make Chris know it. The night he gets into your bed, his heart will dry up because he knows, and you know. To the day he dies, he'll wait for his brother. No, my dear, no such thing. You're going in the morning, and you're going alone. That's your life. That's your lonely life.
Larry is dead, Kate!
Don't speak to me!
I said he's dead! His plane crashed off the coast of China November 25th. His engine didn't fail him, but he died. I know!
How did he die? You're lying. If you know, how did he die?
I loved him. You know I loved him. But I looked at anyone else if I wasn't sure. That's enough for you.
What's enough for me? What are you talking about?
You're hurting my wrist.
What are you talking about?
Joe, go in the house.
Why should I go in the house?
Please. Go.
You let me know when he comes.
What's that?
Sit down. First, you've got to understand, when I came here, I didn't have any idea that Joe... hurt you. I thought I'd show it to you only if there was no other way to settle Larry in your mind.
Larry?
He wrote it to me just before you. I'm not trying to hurt you, Kate. You're making me do this. Now remember, remember. I've been so lonely, Kate. I can't leave you alone again.
Oh,
You made me show it to you. I told you 100 times, why wouldn't you believe me?
my God.
Kate, please.
My God, my God.
Kate. Dear, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What's the matter?
Where were you? You're all perspired. Where were you?
Just rode around a little. I thought you'd be gone.
Where do I go? I have nowhere to go.
Where's Dad?
Inside lying down.
Sit down, both of you. I'll say what there is to say.
I didn't hear the car.
I left it in the garage.
Jim is out looking for you.
Mother, I'm going away. There are a couple of firms in Cleveland. I think I can get a place. I'm going away for good. I know what you're thinking, Annie. It's true, I'm yellow. I was made yellow in this house because I suspected my father and I did nothing about it. But if I knew that night when I came home what I know now, he'd be in the district attorney's office by this time and I'd have brought him there. Now if I look at it, all I'm able to do is cry.
What are you talking about? What else can you do?
I could jail him. I could jail him if I were human anymore, but I'm like everybody else now. I'm practical now. You made me practical.
You have to be.
Cats in the alley are practical. The bums who ran away when we were fighting were practical. Only the dead ones weren't practical. But I'm practical now, and I spit on myself. I'm going away. I'm going now.
I'm coming with you.
No, Anne.
Chris, I don't ask you to do anything about Joe.
You do. You do.
I swear I never
In
will.
your heart, you always will.
Then do what you have to do.
Do what? What is there to do? I've looked all night for a reason to make him suffer.
There's reason. God, there's reason.
What? Do I raise the dead when I put them behind bars? Then what do I do it for? You used to shoot a man who acted like a dog, but honor was real there. You were protecting something. But here, this is the land of the great big dog. You don't love a man, here you eat him. That's the principle. The only one we live by just happened to kill a few people this time, that's all. The world's that way. How can I take it out on him? What sense does that make? This is a zoo. A zoo.
You know what he's got to do. Tell him.
Let him go.
I will not let him go. You'll tell him what he's got to do.
Annie!
Then I will.
What's the matter with you? I want to talk to you.
Got nothing to say to you.
Well, I want to talk to you.
Don't do that, Dad. I'm going to hurt you if you do that. There's nothing to say, so say it quick.
Exactly what's the matter? What's the matter? You got too much money? Is that what bothers you?
It bothers me.
You can't get used to it and throw it away, you hear me? You take every cent and give it to charity. Throw it in the sewer. Does that settle it? In the sewer, that's all. You think I'm kidding? I'm telling you what to do. If it's dirty, then burn it. It's your money, Chris. That's not my money. I'm a dead man. I'm an old dead man. Nothing's mine. Well, talk to me. What do you want to do?
It's not what I want to do, it's what you want to do.
What should I want to do? Jail? You want to go to jail and say so. If that's where I belong, then tell me so. What's the matter? Why can't you tell me? You say everything else to me, well say that. I'll tell you why you can't say it to me, because you know. Because you know. You know I don't belong there. Who worked for nothing in that war? When they work for nothing, I'll work for nothing. When they ship a gun or a truck out of Detroit before they got their price, is that clean? It's dollars and cents, nickels and dimes, war and peace, it's nickels and dimes, and what's clean? This damn country's got to go if I go, and that's why you can't tell me.
That's exactly why.
Then why am I bad?
I know you're no worse than most men, but I thought you were better. I never saw you as a man. I saw you as my father. I can't look at you this way. I can't look at myself.
He died. He's going to read it. No. Larry. He wrote it to me the day he died.
Larry.
Go away. That's not for you.
Why did she say
Don't
Larry?
go to the street.
What's this got to do with Larry?
Don't, Chris, don't tell him.
3.5 years. Talking. Talking. Now you tell me what you must do. This is how he died. Now you tell me where you belong.
Chris, a man can't be the Jesus in this world.
I know all about the world. I know the whole crap story. Now listen to this and tell me what a man's got to be. My dear Anne, you listening? He wrote this the day he died. Don't cry, listen. My dear Anne, it is impossible to put down the things I feel, but I've got to tell you something. Yesterday they flew in a load of papers from the States, and I read about Dad and your father being convicted. I can't express myself. I can't tell you how I feel. I can't bear to live anymore. Last night I circled the base for 20 minutes before I could bring myself in. How could he have done that? Every day, 3 or 4 men never come back, and he sits back there doing business. I don't know how to tell you what I feel. I can't face anybody. I'm going out on a mission in a few minutes. They'll probably report me missing. If they do, I want you to know that you mustn't wait for me. I tell you, Anne, if I had him here now, I could kill him. Now blame the world. Do you understand that letter?
I think I do. Get the car. I'll put on my jacket.
Why are you going? You'll sleep. Why are you going?
I can't sleep here. I'll feel better if I go.
You're so foolish. Larry was your son too, wasn't he? You know he wouldn't tell you to do this.
What is this if it isn't telling me? Sure, he was my son, but I think that him, they were all my sons. And I guess they were. I guess they were. I'll be right down.
You're not going to take him.
I'm taking him.
If you tell him to stay, he'll stay. Go and tell him.
Nobody can stop him now.
You can stop him. How long do you think he'll live in prison? Are you trying to kill him?
I thought you read this.
The war is over. It's over, didn't you hear?
Then what was Larry to you? A stone that fell into the water? Not enough for him to be sorry. Larry didn't kill himself to make you and Dad sorry.
More, sweetie.
You can be better. Once and for all, you can know that there's a universe of people outside and you're responsible to it. And unless you know that, you threw away your son because that's why he died. Find Jim.
Joe! Joe! Joe!
Mother, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no.